Dzogchen Today podcast. Welcome to Dzogchen Today's podcast. This series of Dzogchen in everyday life is designed for us to get more familiar with the Dzogchen view and what it can bring in our daily life through personal sharings and short practices.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in this podcast, Dzogchen and the Relief of Emotion on a Daily Basis. My name is Marie-Laure and I'm your host today. In previous episodes, we looked at the evolution of our living conditions, mainly with regard to climate change and their impact on us in terms of emotions, anger, frustration, anxiety, eco-anxiety, solastalgia, chronic dissatisfaction. And we found that we didn't necessarily make the connection between the evolution of these external conditions and our emotional states, and that this kept us in a state of tension and continued suffering. And we've seen as well that our usual mode of response to this suffering is this famous flight or flight response, which only serves to maintain this state of malaise and confusion. And we've also seen in the previous episodes that the Dzogchen offers a different path to our usual reactions, one that enables us to achieve a genuine emotional calm, develop greater clarity about our living conditions, and help us to respond maybe more appropriately to situations. So in this mini-series of 2 episodes, we will deepen our understanding and experiences of this path to clarity and calm through focusing on a series of short practices that we can apply in our daily life. And to discuss this, I'm very happy to welcome Mila Khyentse Rinpoche.
Hello.
Hello. It's very nice to have you again here.
Nice to be here.
Yes, so Mila Khyentse, for those who don't know maybe you yet, you are a trained scholar, consultant and teacher of Dzogchen. You have been traditionally trained in the Himalayas and in Europe as well, and you're a lineage holder.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe before starting with the practice, could you please remind us briefly why, as a human being, we have this natural resistance to change? And could you maybe explain what would be the mechanism of this resistance according to Dzogchen tradition, and what can we do about it?
Fear. Fear.
Briefly.
Yes. Straight to the point, and it's the case for the Dzogchen tradition actually. The changing conditions for us human beings are frightening because we cannot foresee our next conditions. Just the 1 minute later from now, we have absolutely no idea what will happen at that time. And moreover, if you just think about what I will be in 10 years, for example, then we have absolutely no clue about it.
Well, actually, we think we have a clue
We think
of it.
we have.
Yeah.
And then when we really think about it, we discover that it's just an illusion. It's just a thought we have about our future, or about the future of Earth or mankind, as the topic is solastalgia in this podcast. This is the main point actually. As we cannot really foresee, we can think, we can just have a rough design about the conditions that will develop, but for sure we have no clue. We have absolutely no idea.
Certainty.
Exactly. We have wishes, we have projections, but we cannot say for sure, I know the future as I know my past. That's not possible. So as it's not possible, then something that is coming with the fact that we cannot define the future, it's uncertainty. And uncertainty is, for human beings, it's absolutely not comfortable. We don't know a thing about a thing. we don't know nothing, and this is really uncomfortable for us. So we have difficulty to face this natural state, because it's our natural state, actually. This impermanent state is really difficult for us to face directly, because we don't know a thing about this condition. And as we don't know a thing, we are afraid. So with uncertainty comes the fear. This is why I just answered before. This is fear for sure. Yeah. Fear is the main emotion connected to the changing conditions. And the changing conditions cannot be defined, especially if we are all the time fearing the future conditions. So it's like a vicious circle, you know. We are not clear about the future, and being not clear about the future makes us unclear about our condition.
Yeah, we're really stuck in a prison, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And this prison is without any walls. And this is more difficult because it's an abstract prison. It's an abstract jail. So it's this abstraction comes from our mental projection, and as our mental projections are not facts, you know, it's not like this table. Can you hear that? This is solid. This I know for sure it's here, but my mental projections, I don't know. It's not. They are not facts, so I cannot rely on them to define the reality. And so, in this way, our life is completely uncertain, especially during difficult times, difficult periods where we cannot foresee for sure even our near future. It's during these chaotic conditions, uncertain conditions, it's we can say the effect is doubled, because our own uncertainty is doubled by the global uncertainty. So this is really difficult for us, you know, in these kind of times, in times like this, to really determine, you know, what will be my life in 1 or 2 years, because it's
too many changing conditions.
Yes, and you cannot define them for sure. So this is why nowadays a lot of specialists, health specialists, determine that the mental condition is really developing, but
getting worse.
Yes, and this mental condition is completely also related to all these uncertain conditions for sure. So this particular way of seeing the reality is really central in the Dzogchen tradition. We call it, in fact, like Dzogchen and Buddhist traditions, both, they define our condition as human beings, or just as beings, as impermanent. We just take birth and then we die. And in between, everything in between is completely impermanent. Things change all the time. And we are just aging, naturally aging. But we are afraid also about that, because, you know, this aging just leads us to disappearing, because it's our condition, from birth to death. So when we think about changing conditions, it's all the time. And we can say, but no, it's not all the time related to death. But as human beings, and as it is our natural condition between birth and death, whenever we project the future, whenever we are just thinking about changing conditions, underlying this, there is the question of death. So this is there, that the fear is just remains, because we don't know where we are going. We don't know a thing about the future, except one thing we don't want to face. It's our own death.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the natural conditions of all the living beings, the nature, this earth, etc., etc., etc. So this is why also the conditions, the actual conditions that are quite difficult, quite uncertain, kind of emphasize the fact that this uncertainty is really connected to the fear, because the global conditions developing into a chaotic state, then it's really more difficult for us to be sure about, just as I said, just about 2 years from now, everything can just change. The global political situation can evolve really quickly, really rapidly.
Yes.
We saw that with all the conflicts. Yeah. So we know that, everything can just develop really quickly.
But because it's very interesting, because it's kind of paradoxal, no? So that we're afraid of this natural condition, but it is our natural condition.
Sure.
And we are trying hard to avoid it, but
we cannot,
it is, and we cannot,
because it's our natural condition.
Yes, and we could say that it's quite a big opportunity for us to realize that, even though it's quite tough, probably tough conditions to realize that. But could we think it's an opportunity?
It can be an opportunity. For the Dzogchen tradition, it's all the time an opportunity, because our life is just naturally changing all the time. We are afraid about that, especially in the West. The Western world nowadays is more connected to how can I say that, a never-ending process of development. So for us, in the way we think the reality, it's wide open in the future. And the future is all the time, and this is also from the 18th century in the European history. The philosopher from the 18th century just developed the fact that all the positiveness is coming. The good is coming.
The better is coming. Yes.
And the more we go, and the more it will become bright.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is also a thing that for us, can hide this uncertainty of the future. And this is why also, the mental unbalanced state that a lot of us are facing is coming also from that, because we have a thinking that is more connected to the future is bright, and the reality of the conditions that just show us okay, it's bright, but maybe not so bright. And so it's a paradox. It's a paradoxical situation we are trapped in. And the main problem is that we cannot think the future. We cannot think about the changing conditions, because we have really no clue about the future. So we know, and this is also the point from the Dzogchen tradition, we know that thinking about these changing conditions cannot do a thing, cannot solve this uncertainty or the fear we experience. So for the Dzogchen tradition, we have one thing we can do is to face the emotions directly, is to face our real condition directly. Often it's not so fun, because we just realize that our condition is not really well. We are not really in a good mood. We are maybe a bit depressed, and so on and so on. So we don't want to face that, because we think that maybe we will even emphasize the fact that we are just suffering, and just seeing, just watching, just witnessing this suffering for us will increase this suffering.
And that's why sometimes we're very good at avoiding that.
Yes, it's not sometimes.
All the time.
It's almost all the time. We are avoiding. You were talking about the fight or flight response. It's actually the main response we have about changing conditions, about uncertainty. So we deny the fact that we are suffering, or we are just trying to fly away from this suffering. We can use everything, in fact. We can use alcohols, drugs, ski, etc.
Yes, this is what we've seen in the previous episode.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the usual I really cannot say a natural response, but it's exactly a strategy to avoid the reality. We don't want to face the reality.
So basically, we're always in a kind of discrepancy between reality and where we think we stand, actually.
Exactly, and this is why...
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream, and this is why the mental condition is degrading, because we think a reality that is not the reality, and it's developing, because the more the conditions become hard to live in, the more we try to fly from them.
Yeah.
So we are completely disconnected from the reality. And the Dzogchen tradition, it's in the Dzogchen tradition, we try to do exactly the reverse. It means that just facing it directly to see what is the real, maybe I can say that, the real reality of what I really experience. So almost everything in the beginning will be avoiding this fight or flight. So it's a way to concentrate. In fact, in the Dzogchen tradition, we start by how to concentrate to avoid this usual strategy. And so we need to disrupt our usual patterns, usual habits. And the best way to do that is to have a special, it starts actually by the bodily posture, body posture. Being still, remaining still. It's something that we never do, usually. It's the first point. And the second point is not moving the eyes, because it's also something that we never do in our daily life. So we create a breakthrough about our usual patterns, about our habits. And then we have a different perspective. We can develop a different way to concentrate, avoiding the usual answer, which is, again, on fight or flight.
Okay, so very interesting. So it starts with the posture.
Yes.
And
we can start over.
Yes,
we can do it directly. We did that already. I think it was in Lausanne, and
in March.
In March, it was in March. Yes.
Yes.
2023.
Yes.
Last year. So I already talked about that. I already proposed this exercise
in French, though. But
in French,
for our listeners that wants to,
yes,
challenge in their French, they can. They can try it.
But this time we will do in English for sure. It's an exercise connected to clarity, to be clear again about our condition. So it's an exercise that develops clarity. So the process is really simple. We just, as we say, we just sit still. We try to remain still. So our feet flat on the ground, the back straight, our hands flat on our knees or our thigh. And then we will just try to concentrate on one point. It means that we just keep our eyes open, and then we just concentrate on one point in front of us, a bit down. So our neck is a bit crooked, but not much. And then we start the exercise like this. We just concentrate on one point in front of us and not trying to do something. We just relax and we just concentrate on here and now without doing something in particular. If something pops up, if I have an idea or if I hear a sound, then I just notice and I just let go. And then in this state of concentration, I will just remember an event from my past that developed maybe strong emotion, strong feelings. An event about maybe a time of break, a time of rupture, disruptive time that changed my life. Usually, when we think about this kind of event, it can be an accident, a car crash, for example,
Or the death of someone.
Or whatever thing that is a bit heavy. And then I just concentrate. I just try to remember this event. And usually when I do that, the emotions connected to this event just pop up. And then I will just concentrate onto one of them. I will just concentrate directly onto one of the emotion present. And I am just doing that. It means that I isolate one emotion and I just concentrate directly onto it without trying to do something about it, without trying to change it or to transform it. I just remain focused onto it. And then I let everything go. I just remain in this posture, but I am not concentrating anymore onto anything. And I just remain relaxed in this state. And it's over.
Thank you.
How is it? Difficult?
Not particularly difficult. I think it was quite interesting to see that, to realize actually that the emotion was, first of all, sensation, and that it was, that I realized that it was labeled emotion because I was commenting it, but actually at the
base of the experience.
Yes, it was really a sensation. And that I realized as well that it was a kind of habit to judge this sensation as not comfortable, but actually it was just a sensation, and that when concentrated on it, it would disappear, or vanish or something. And then I had to recall the memory,
Exactly,
to try to find back the emotion. So. Because it vanishes, and it was like, oh, but I have the habit that this emotion lasts, and it doesn't last, so I'm going to recall it to make it last,
to recreate it.
Yeah. So that was very interesting to see that it has no
cannot.
Existence in the sense of
in itself.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the main point actually of these exercises. It's just to recognize directly the real nature of things that are just in movement inside us. Usually one emotion lasts because we think about it, we think about the object of the emotion, maybe an event, a past event, for example, where one or two or three persons were involved. Then we think about these people, and then we link to the emotion we experienced. So it's the way we make them stick to our mind.
Yes.
But if we do not just develop that, if we just leave the things as they are on the spot, we see that they cannot remain. And this is the basic answer from the Dzogchen tradition to our confused state of mind, to our emotional state, and just to practice this exercise on a daily basis. So this is really important because we need to train. If we do that just one day and we think, oh, okay, it's over, I am mastering my mind, then we are just still continuing the same thing as we do. We are just flying away. So we need to train if we want to really master our emotions. But the first thing, and this is why it's about clarity, the first thing that we experience is that the emotions or the sensations or the thoughts really do not live, do not work as we think they do. And this is a real breakthrough usually for us, because we never think about that the way that we just observe it directly.
Yes, because it's surprising, because most of the time we don't even think about it, and it's a kind of package. I mean, or it's one thing that we call emotion, and then
it's a
in
big
the
mess,
exercise, it's a big mess. Yes. And in the exercise, we can really start to separate and isolate the different elements.
Exactly.
But then, because the comment might be a bit more quick, the sensation, though, might appear as
ground of experience.
Yes, or remain a bit more than the thought or the comments on it. And I wonder if sometimes, because of the sensation, we don't want to go in there because the sensation remains. Is it? Is there different steps?
Yes. In the Dzogchen tradition, we say that the thought is not a fact. Actually, it's not only in the Dzogchen tradition we say that. So the thought is like mercury. It's like really, really swift. It's really, really quick. So this one really doesn't last, never. But the sensation, our bodily sensation, even our mindly sensation, the process called the interoception process, the link between mind and body, lasts more than the thought process. So the more we just practice this kind of exercises, the more we discover this fact that the thought is really, really, we can say it's the most illusory thing in our experience. And the one that remains more is really more connected to the sensation.
The core kind of.
The sensation, the feeling we have. So this is why when we practice like this, when we focus onto an emotion, we focus mainly onto the sensation. And what vanishes slowly is the sensation.
Yes.
Because the thoughts just vanish when it appears, it disappears. So the thought about an emotion cannot last. So the thought is not the problem connected to the emotion. The problem, what affects us usually, it's the sensation.
And the label.
Yeah.
I mean, storytelling on the sensation.
And the label, we actually we mixed up the thought and the sensation. And we think that the thought is the answer, meaning that, I know this sensation, it's joy, it's pain, etc., etc.
Yeah, we know it even without thinking about it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's there. So,
exactly. It's like it pops up without any thought about it, and it's like an immediate reflex. And this is why, to avoid this reflex, we have to remain concentrated on it and on the experience. If not, we are just the plaything of our mind, and we won't never break the cycle of the suffering, for sure. So this was the first exercise, and maybe we can just jump to the second exercise, which is broadening the perspective. So the first step, you regain the clarity, and the second step, you open up your mind, seeing that there is not just only the emotion you are experiencing, but also everything else remains. It's not because you are suffering from an emotion that the universe just stops. And this is really important in the process as well, because usually when we are affected by an emotion, we forget about everything else. And forgetting about everything else means that you are just focusing onto the emotion. So the best way to just see also the nature of the emotion is to broadening again, going back to a broad vision of yourself, of your experience. And then you can see that the emotion you are affected is just a part, and a really small part of all the realities. So this one is a really complementary exercise from the first one. And then usually we just start the exercise by recalling the emotion we experienced in the first exercise. So it's really the same. We start by concentrating ourselves, by being concentrating using one point. So we are just focusing on one point, the eyes open. So in front of us, usually a bit down in front of us. And so the eyes are on one point, our feet flat on the ground, the back straight, no tension, the most comfortable as we can. And then we concentrate just naturally. We remain present on whatever appears, on whatever pops up.
But without following what's popping up, right?
Exactly. You let it go. You just notice and then you let it go. And then you recall the emotion you were focusing on in the last exercise. So you recall the feeling. If needed, you recall the event that created this emotion. And then when the emotion is really alive in your mind, you gradually just lift up your eyes and you concentrate directly in front of you. Again, the eyes on one point. And still holding the emotion, you just try to being conscious about the opening that is in front of you. You try to regain the space of your consciousness. And in this way, you can see that the emotion is just a part of everything else. You try just to remain present at this space in front of you, and at the same time trying to be concentrated onto the emotion. And then slowly you bring back your gaze downwards on a point again, eyes open. And you let it go about everything. You just concentrate onto your presence here and now. And not trying to do anything else. Just remain present. And it's over.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think it's time to
Sure.
wrap up.
Just the last thing is that trying to do this in a complementary way, because the first one developed clarity, the second one developed space,
Definitely.
openness. So they have to be really in junction.
Okay.
So this is really important to do the first one, then the second one. And it's just 10 minutes. So not much of an effort.
Okay. But that was very interesting, though, to see because of the
complementary.
It gives a sense of relaxation.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
sensation actually vanishes more quickly than
the first one.
Experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Mila.
Thank you
for this practice. Thank you as well to our listeners, and don't miss our next episode, because we will be going a bit further on this topic
with another exercise.
With another exercise, yes. Thank you very much.